On today's menu, we have sauteed liver with mashed potatoes. This is a super delicious dish and tastes much better than it sounds, so stay tuned and don't forget to enjoy. Alright, so we're going to start with our sauce for our liver, and here are my ingredients, and I'll be using some ginger, a few cloves of garlic, some tomato, 1 onion. You can use more onions if you want, which maybe I will use more, I'm not sure yet. Some green onions, some fresh Italian parsley, and just a little piece of dill. And with all of this, I'm just going to add all of this to my blender, and I'm just going to blend these up into a nice mixture. Just with a little bit of water is fine. And that's good. I'm not trying to really cream blend it, but I want to see some of this still in there, so that's good. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pour my mixture into my saucepan with a little bit of oil, not too much oil. So you could strain yours if you like, if you don't want too much of this in there, if you just want the liquid alone. But I want to add a little bit of this, so that's why I left mine. Or you could just blend it for a little bit more time. And make sure your stove is on low, medium. And then you just want to stir that and let that cook just for a bit. And in a separate pot, this is my pot for my potatoes, and you want to put that on before with a little bit of salt. Don't forget to add salt, guys. Alright, so here I have a few little potatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and peel these potatoes now, and this will be for my mashed potatoes. And then I basically just cut them to about this width. Give them enough cooking time, because I don't want them to mush out in the pot or cook too quick, but at the same time I want them to cook. And that's basically how I do it. I'm just going to continue this. I usually wash my potato right after I'm done cutting them up and stuff. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add my potatoes to my pot. Remember to add salt. And then you can see that my sauce has been cooking nicely for a while, and it looks good. Oh, I have forgotten to add a little piece of Scotch Bonnet pepper to my blend, so I'm just going to cut a small piece and just mince it up and add it to my pot. So you can do this, it's optional. It's more for flavor, not really to make the pot hot. Alright, so I'm going to add about a tablespoon of my Chinese cooking wine. You could get this at your local Chinese supermarket. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and add about 4 tablespoons of soy sauce. This is to give it the brown color I'm looking for, and also the salt. You can also use browning sauce, which you can get from your local store. It's pretty cheap, and it's just basically color. So it's a nice dark browning color you can put into your sauce or on your meat to give it a dark color. Alright, so I'm going to add about a tablespoon of tomato paste to this. You can get this at your local supermarket also. Please keep in mind that when you're adding your soy sauce, the amount depends on the portion that you're making and however many people you're making it for. So don't add 4 like I did. You might want to gradually add your soy sauce just to make sure you don't want to over salt your pot or under salt it either. Alright, so this is a small amount of Scotch Bonnet pepper I'm adding to my pot, not a lot, and I mince it out so it has enough time to cook out so that the pot is not hot. Now for my mashed potatoes, I usually add milk before and after mashing, or during mashing I should say. Just a bit of milk. You don't have to add milk if you don't want to. Water does the job quite fine, and butter. And I usually add butter and let it cook, because I don't add a lot of milk and butter when I'm mashing it, because they're already soft from the butter and milk that I put in before. And I'm just going to let that cook. Make sure you taste your pot to ensure that it's salt enough, and not too salt, but salt enough where it'll taste good after you're done. And my sauce is smelling really good. Now we're going to start working on that liver. Alright, so here I have my piece of liver that I bought from the Chinese supermarket. And if you're not a fan of liver, then this dish is really not for you. But if you want to try something new, it's quite delicious depending on how you cook it. So with some liver now, some liver usually come with, see, for this one they already took it off, but there's a piece here which I'm glad is here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Some liver come with like a skin coating that you must peel off, otherwise your liver will be super chewy and very hard to eat. Like, it will be almost impossible to chew this. So here's a little piece, let me bring it close up, and it looks like this. It looks almost like a skin coating. So if you get your liver and it doesn't look like mine and it more looks like it's like a little bit pale in color, with this is what it is. It has this little piece of skin here that you have to peel off. It's almost like a tape-ish. It's very hard to peel off. It takes a lot of patience, and then you just go ahead and peel that off, and that's it. But for this one, they've already removed pretty much that skin, so I don't have to worry about that, which is good. So now we're just gonna go ahead and cut up our liver. But for some liver, it does come with that skin, and you have to ensure that you remove it. Alright, so for my liver now, I'm going to cut these up in very small slices and very thin because I don't want it to be too chewy. So this is good for me. So this is how thin I'm going to cut them up. But you could cut them up as big, as thin, as thick as you want, depending on how you like to chew. I don't want to have too much mouth work going on, so I'm cutting them up in thin slices. I should probably get a bigger knife. And for big slices like this, I'm just cut them in half. Alright, so here my liver after they've been washed in a little bit of lemon juice and cut into slices. So it's basically about how thick I did them. So now I'm going to go ahead and season these with a little bit of seasoning salt. You can put whatever you like. And rub those in. And I'm going to season those on both sides. I washed it just to get rid of some of the blood and because it's meat, you know. So here I have a bowl of flour, and I'm just going to go ahead and just lay my liver pieces on top of the flour on both sides, and that's it. I don't want to soak it in there. That's it. That's basically it. I'm going to put it back in my plate, and I'm just going to do that for the whole thing. And I'm just trying to give it a little coating because I'm going to fry these just a little bit, very lightly, like I'm just grazing these before I put them in my sauce, because I'm not trying to dry them out because I don't want them to be too chewy. Alright, so now that I'm done lightly coating my liver with flour, I have a little frying pan here and with some oil, and I'm just gonna put these in there just in a few little batches at a time. You could do this with a bigger frying pan if you like. And then I'm just gonna lightly let these get a little bit of color, just lightly. Alright, now I'm just gonna flip those over. As you can see, that nice brown color that it's gotten is perfect. Like, I don't want these in my oil for too long. That's why I turn my stove up on high, because I'm not trying to dry them out. Once each piece is done, you can go ahead and just throw it over into your sauce. Alright, so after I'm done frying, if you notice how some of my liver, it's still bleeding a bit, that's to show you I didn't over fry it. I fried it just enough, because I don't want it to be too hard. I want it to be nice and tender when I'm cutting into it. And now you want to go ahead and mix your liver into your sauce. And I'm going to add some freshly cut sweet peppers to my dish. You don't have to add this. You can add whatever you want. So after you're done, you want to just cover this and let it just cook for a bit of time. Like another 15, 10, 20 minutes or so. It depends. You have to really check it with a knife. By this time your potatoes are done, so we're going to go ahead and mash. I'm just going to add a bit of butter and some milk. And then you just want to mash that. I don't like my mashed potatoes to be too creamy, but you can make it however way you prefer. Some people add their salt after. I add my salt while I'm cooking, just so it gets in the potato. So I'm just adding a tinge of black pepper to my mashed potatoes. You don't have to add this. This is quite optional. I'm just gonna add a few bits of green onions. Again, you do not have to add this. You could just make it plain. I just wanna tune mine up a bit. Then I'm pretty much done. Alright guys, here is my finished dish of my mashed potatoes and liver. This dish is so delicious, you won't be sorry. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and see you next time.